Good morning, Sairam children, and welcome to the part 2 of class 9th Political Science chapter number 3rd, that is Electoral Politics. So children, in a previous video we have discussed about why do we need elections and what makes an election democratic, right? Now just tell me, can we say that Indian elections are democratic? Okay, so to answer this question, let us take a look at how elections are held in India. Okay, so today's our topic is what is our system of election. Now, children, as you know that in India, elections are held for Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha assembly regularly after every 5 years. Now, after 5 years, the term of all the elected representatives come to an end. That means the Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha stands dissolved. Okay, now the second thing is basically in this chapter we will focus on general election. Okay, in this chapter we will focus on general election. So let's first understand what do you mean by the general election. So general election held in all the constituencies at the same time or on the same day. Clear? General election means elections held in all the constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days, is called a general election. Now, what is a constituencies? So constituencies means for election, the entire country is divided into fixed electoral areas with a body of registered voters. Clear? Constituencies means for election, the entire country is divided into fixed electoral areas with a body of registered voters. Now, these areas are called constituencies. Clear? And the general elections held in all the constituencies at the same time or on the same day. Now, sometime in India, by-elections are held. By-election means when elections are held only for one constituency to fill the vacant seat caused by the death or resignation of a member. This is called a by-election. Is it clear? What is the difference between the general election and the by-election? So, general elections held in all the constituencies at the same time or on the same day. By-elections held only for one constituency to fill the vacant seat. Second, general election. Now, such elections are held after every 5 years. General elections are held after every 5 years. But by-elections can be held any time. Clear? By-elections can be held any time. Now, next one is the general election. Now, these elections are held to form new government. General elections are held to form the new government, but the by-elections are held to fill the vacant seat. Is it clear now? What is the difference between the general election and by-election? Okay. Now just move on to the topic. So, what is our system of election? So, children, as I said, elections for the Lok Sabha or Parliament are held every 5 years in our country at the same time and are referred to as a general election. So, the system of election can be understood with the help of these points. Right? The system of election which we followed in India can be understood with the help of the following points. So, the first one is the electoral constituencies. Second is reserved constituencies. Now third point is voters list. Now the next point is nomination of candidates. Fifth point is election campaign. And the last but not the least, polling and counting of votes. Now let's read each point one by one. So first one is the electoral constituencies. So children, you read about the people of Haryana electing 90 MLAs. So you may have wondered how they did that. Did every person in Haryana vote for all the 90 MLAs? You perhaps know that this is not the case. In our country, we follow an area-based system of representation. Right? In our country, we follow an area-based system of representation. So, during the election time, the entire country is divided into different areas for the purpose of election. Clear? The country is divided into different areas for the purpose of election. Now these areas are called electoral constituencies. Clear? So the voters who live in an area elect one representative. Now, our constitutions requires that each constituency should have roughly equal population living within it. Now, there are different constituencies for Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha and municipal elections. Okay, but before that, here are the following points are to be kept in your mind regarding Lok Sabha or parliamentary constituencies. So first of all, the country is divided into 543 constituencies, right? For the election purpose, the entire country is divided into 543 constituencies. Now the second thing is the representatives elected from each constituencies is called a member of parliament or and MPs. Clear? Now next thing is each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies or Vidhan Sabha. And the following points basically are important regarding them. The elected representative of these constituencies is referred to as member of Legislative Assembly or an MLA. Right? The elected representatives of these constituencies is referred to as the member of Legislative Assembly or an MLA. Now each village, or we can say that town, is further divided. Each village or town is further divided into several wards that are like constituencies, and each ward elect one member of the village or the urban local body. Is it clear? Okay, now the second point is reserved constituencies. Okay, our constitution entitles every citizen to elect his her representative and to be elected as a representative, right? So the constitution makers, however, were worried that in an open electoral competition, certain weaker sections may not stand a good chance to get elected to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Even they may not have the required resources, education and contacts to contest and win elections against others. So those who are influential and resourceful may prevent them from winning elections. So if that happens, our parliament and assemblies would be deprived of the voice of a significant section of our population. And that would make our democracy less representative and less democratic. Now, what do you understand by the reserved constituencies? So as I said, the constitution makers have reserved constituencies for the weaker section. Now, reserved constituencies means some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the scheduled caste, that means SC, and scheduled tribes, that means ST. Clear? Some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. For Lok Sabha election, 84 seats reserved for SC and 47 seats are reserved for ST. So this number is 84 and 47 is in proportion to their share in total population. Is it clear? How many seats are reserved for Lok Sabha election for SC and ST? 84 seats are reserved for SC and 47 seats are reserved from scheduled tribes. Now in many states, seats in rural, panchayat and urban municipalities and corporation local bodies are now reserved for other backward classes, that means OBC as well. And 1/3 of the seats are reserved in rural and urban local bodies for the women candidates. Clear? How many seats? 1/3 of the seats are reserved for the woman candidate. So the system of reservation is provided because of the many reasons. First of all, as I told you, the constitution makers, they were worried that in an open electoral competition, certain weaker sections may not stand a good chance to get elected to the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. So the weaker section did not have the required resources, education and contacts to contest and win election. Even if they stood for election, there was a possibility that those who were influential and resourceful may prevent them from winning election. Clear? Now, the next point is voters list. Now, once the constituencies are decided, okay, so the next step is to decide who can and who cannot vote. Now, this is decided in the following manner. First of all, in our country, all the citizens aged 18 years above can vote in an election. Clear? That means every citizen has the right to vote regardless of his or her caste, religion or gender. Now, some criminals and persons with unsound mind. Clear? Some criminals and persons with unsound mind can be denied the right to vote, but only in rare situation. Now, prior to election, a list of those who are eligible to vote is prepared, and this list is officially called electoral roll and is commonly known as the voter list. Clear? So, what is the another name of the voter list? It is electoral roll. Now, it is the responsibility of the government to get the names of all the eligible voters put on the voter list. So, as new persons attain voting age, so their names are added to the voters list. A name of those who move out of a place or those who are dead are deleted. Now, a complete revision of list take place every 5 years. Okay, a complete revision of the list takes place every 5 years, and this is done to ensure that it remains up to date. In the last few years, a new system of election photo identity card EPIC has been introduced. Actually, government has tried to give this card to every person to the voters list. The provision of the voter ID card has been made to prevent false voting. But the card is not yet compulsory for voting, because for voting the voters can show any other valid ID proof. For example, like a driving license, ration card or PAN card. Clear? Next we have fourth point, nomination of candidates. So in India there are almost no restrictions on anyone to contest an election. Now here are the points are however to be kept in mind related to this process. For the nomination of candidates, the minimum age for becoming a candidate in election is 25 years. Clear? The minimum age for becoming a candidate in Lok Sabha election is 25 years. Now there are some other restrictions on criminals, etc., but these apply in very extreme cases. Political parties nominate their candidates who get the party symbol and support. So, party's nomination is often called party ticket. Party's nomination is often called party ticket. Now, every person who wishes to contest an election has to fill a nomination form. Okay, every person who wishes to contest an election has to fill a nomination form and give some money as security deposit. So a new system of declaration has also been introduced from the Supreme Court. Now every candidate has to make a legal declaration. First, serious criminal cases pending against the candidate, if any. Details of the assets and liabilities of the candidate and his or her family. Even educational qualification of the candidate. So this information has to be made public, and this provides an opportunity to the voters to make their decision on the basis of information provided by the candidates. Okay, so these information they can provide to their voters. Clear? So these information has to be made public. Now the voters to make their decisions on the basis of the information provided by the candidates. Now the next point is election campaign. Now children, the main purpose of election is to give people a chance to choose the representatives. So the government and the policies they prefer. Therefore, it is necessary to have a free and open discussion about who is a better representative and which party will make a better government or what is a good policy. So this objective is fulfilled through an election campaign. Now these points to be kept in your mind regarding the election campaign. First, in our country, such campaigns take place for a 2-week period. Okay, such campaigns take place for a 2-week period between the announcement of the final list of the candidates and the date of the polling. Now the second point is, During the election campaigning, candidates, they contact their voters. Political leaders, they address election meetings, and political parties mobilize their supporters. Now, in election campaigns, I think you all have heard that in election campaigns, political parties, they just try to focus public attention on some big issues by using slogan. So some slogan adopted by the political parties to win the elections. Now, for example, the Congress party led by the Indira Gandhi. The Congress party led by the Indira Gandhi gave the slogan of Garibi Hatao, remove poverty, in the Lok Sabha elections of 1971. Actually, during that time, the party promised to reorient all the policies of the government to remove poverty from the country. Now, the next example is the Save Democracy, was the slogan given by the Janata Party in the next Lok Sabha election held in India in 1977. At that time, the party promised to undo the excess committed during the emergency and restore civil liberties. Next example, we have the Left Front used slogan of Land to the Tiller in the West Bengal assembly elections held in 1977. Now, another example is Protect the Self-Respect of Telugus. This slogan was used by N.T. Rama Roy, the leader of Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh elections in 1983. Okay, so according to our election law, our Indian election law, no party or candidate can be allowed to first bribe or threaten voters, right? Parties or the candidates, they cannot allow to bribe or threaten voters. Second, appeal to them in the name of caste or religion. They cannot be allowed to use government resources for the election campaign. And the last and the most important is spend more than the limits specified for the Lok Sabha election and for the assembly election. Basically, for the Lok Sabha election, the expenditure can be between 54 lakh to 70 lakh, and for assembly election it can be between 20 lakh to 28 lakh. So these limits are subject to change. If any of the above regulation or rules are not followed by the candidates or the party, then their election can be rejected by the court even after they have been declared elected. Now, in addition to the above laws, all the political parties in our country have agreed to a model code of conduct for the election campaign. As per it, no candidates or party can. Okay, let's first understand what do you mean by the model code of conduct. Model code of conduct means a set of norms and guidelines followed by the political parties and candidate during the election campaign. Okay, now as per it, no candidate or party can use any place of worship for election propaganda, use government vehicles, aircrafts and officials for elections, and once elections are announced, that means the date announced, Ministers shall not lay foundation stones of any new project, take any big policy decision, or make any promises of providing public facilities. Okay. Now, the last point is polling and counting of votes. This is the final stage of an election. Is the day when the voters cast their vote and when their votes are counted. Now here are the important points. First one is, on the election day, every person whose name is on the voter list can go to the nearby polling booth, situated usually in a local school or a government office. Now, once the voter goes inside the booth, election officials identify them, put a mark as shown in this figure, put a mark of their finger and allow them to cast their vote. Then, an agent of each candidate is allowed to sit inside the polling booth and ensure that the voting takes place in a fair way. Now, earlier voting was done by a ballot paper, as we know that. Earlier voting was done by a ballot paper, which is a document containing names of the candidates with their election symbols. But nowadays, electronic voting machine, EVMS, electronic voting machines are used to record votes. EVM means it is a electronic voting machine which are used to record votes. Now this machine shows the name of the candidate and the party symbols. All that the voter has to do is to press the button against the name of the candidate she wants to give his or her vote. Now, once the polling is over, all the EVM are sealed and taken to a secure place. After voting, once the polling is over, all the EVM machine are sealed and taken to a secure place. And a few days later, on a fixed day, all the EVM from a constituencies are opened and the votes secured by each candidate are counted. The agents of all the candidates are present there to ensure that counting is done properly. Then the candidates who secure the highest number of votes from a constituency is declared elected. In general election, usually the counting of votes in all the constituencies take place at the same time or on the same day. Now the television channels, radio, newspaper report this event, and within a few hours of counting, all the results are declared and it becomes clear as to who will form the next government. Is it clear? Okay, let's take a quick recap what we have discussed in this video. So in this video we have discussed the election procedure which we followed in India. Okay, so the first step is the election procedure in India start with the announcement of dates. So the first is the announcement of dates. Second, nomination of candidates. After the announcement of dates, the candidates file their nomination papers. Now next we have scrutinizing of nomination paper. The nomination paper are scrutinized on the fixed date. That means the incomplete or incorrect papers are rejected by the Election Commission. Now next step is withdrawal of nomination. If any candidate want to withdraw his or her name, so the candidate was given a date for the withdrawal of their names. Then publication of the final list. After the withdrawal, the final list is printed. Election symbols are allotted to the candidates. Next we have election campaign. So, election campaign, when the list of the eligible candidates gets printed by the returning officer, different political parties launch their election campaigns to canvass for their candidates. Next, we have polling. So, public holiday, as we know that public holiday is declared on the election day, so that each voter may exercise his or her vote. Then next we have counting of votes. After the election is over, the counting personnels are appointed by the election officer, who at the fixed place and at the fixed time start their counting work in the presence of returning officer or the ROM. Next we have declaration of results. After the counting of votes is over, the election officer declares the candidates getting the maximum votes elected. Okay, now it becomes clear as to who will form the next government. Is it clear now? The procedure, the election procedure followed in India. Okay, so that's it for this part. Now, quiz time. So the first question is, in how many constituencies is the country divided for the Lok Sabha election? Now options are, first option is 533, option B is 543 and option C is 545. So in how many constituencies is country divided for the Lok Sabha election? Yes, option B is 543. Now, second question is, the body which conduct the elections in India is? Now, options are Supreme Court, option B Cabinet and option C Election Commission. So, option C is the correct answer. Election Commission conduct the elections in India. Now the third question is, what is the age of the person who can contest election for the Lok Sabha in India? Now options are 21 years, option B 27 years and option C 25 years. So what is the age of the person for the Lok Sabha who contest election? It's 25 years. For Lok Sabha, 25 years. Next we have question number 4. Who has given the slogan Garibi Hatao? Options are Indira Gandhi, option B Rajiv Gandhi and option C Sanjay Gandhi. So who has given this slogan? Option A Indira Gandhi has given the slogan Garibi Hatao. Now the next question is question number 5. Voters list is also known as, or we can say that the another name of voter list is? Options are election list, option B electoral roll and option C commission list. So voter list is also known as electoral roll, right? Now the next question is, a complete revision of voters list takes place after every dash years. Now option A is 6 years, option B 5 years and option C is 4 years. So a complete revision of voter list take place after every 5 years. Yes, so option B is the correct answer. So that's all for today. Have a nice day and thank you.